in a partnership with helping those in need, is looking to help us in achieving the success of the Winter Warmth Drive 2022. Now, we plead with you to search those boxes and storage bags because someone out there really needs anything warm that you may have just sitting there gathering dust. Winter is no joke when you have nowhere to go to protect you from the cold. We know how lonely it gets when even the elements are working against your well being. During these tough times, we are attempting to collect 1,000 items to be handed over on the 31st of June 2022. Drop your donation items at Keith Ngesi Radio, 628 Donald Road in Vincent, opposite Game across the street from Vincent Park. We'd love to see the collection stack grow every day to ensure that as many children, women, and men get to realize a warmer winter because of you, and a better winter as well. Let's make it happen together for those we refuse to leave out in the cold. KNR, helping those in need because KNR cares. Good morning and welcome to our segment where we focus on nothing but the current affairs. The 95-year-old monarch was revealed to have tested positive for the virus on Sunday, and although Buckingham Palace confirmed at the time she was only experiencing mild symptoms and planned to continue her work, they have now announced that she won't be undertaking any video meetings. A Buckingham Palace spokesperson said, as Her Majesty is still experiencing mild cold-like symptoms, she has decided not to undertake her planned virtual engagements today, but will continue with light duties. It is understood engagements scheduled over the course of the next week will be decided at a nearer time. The Queen is the longest reigning British monarch of all time and is receiving medical attention, but her spokesperson previously stressed that she was still able to undertake light duties. Now, the royal spokesperson previously said that Buckingham Palace confirms that the Queen has tested positive for COVID-19. She will continue to receive medical attention and follow all the appropriate guidelines. Since her diagnosis was announced, the Queen has sent a congratulatory message to the Team GB's curling competitors following their success at the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympic Games. And she also sent a note of condolences to the president of Brazil after the city of Petrolis was hit by floods. The Queen's diagnosis was revealed after her son, Prince Charles, tested positive for the virus for a second time on the 10th of February. 2 days after he's believed to have been in contact with his mother. His wife, Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, also tested positive for the virus a few days later. These laws will protect everyone equally. Motsoaledi defends the job quotas for foreign nationals. Now, this comes after politicians expressed different opinions about the law proposed by the government as it grapples with high unemployment and the resurgence of anti-migrant sentiment. Government plans to introduce a law governing job quotas for foreign nationals. The law will indicate the number of foreigners businesses owned by local are permitted to hire. Motsoaledi told the Newsroom Africa the proposed law aims to equalize foreign-owned companies and locally owned businesses. He said it was not fueling anti-immigrant sentiment. Absolutely not, said Motsoaledi. These laws will protect everyone equally, whether you are a foreign national or not. He said hiring illegal immigrants remains illegal and the employment laws of the country cannot protect them. Speaking on radio this morning, Motsoaledi said that the proposed law governing job quotas for the foreign nationals has been in the making for several years. He said in the critical skills list was not published in 2018 as the law requires because of consultations. Now, the list was gazetted on the 2nd of February and transitional mechanism had been outlined. Several politicians, including Action SA leader Herman Mashaba and his party's latest recruit, Athol Trollip, said government should prioritize South Africans before discussing quotas for foreign nationals. Overnight news has come in that Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered his military to enter the Russian-controlled areas of southeast Ukraine following his decision to recognize Luhansk and Donetsk as independent states. As the conflict looks to escalate frighteningly, it is essential to understand the real issues behind the real implications of a possible war. But instead of focusing on the social injustice, hunger, inequality, a pandemic that has taken a far heavier toll on the poor, the world's attention was somewhere else. Internationally, much of the news was focused on the rumblings of war over Ukraine and the escalating danger of a direct or proxy war between several of the world's military, if not economic superpowers. For a country like South Africa, caught in the multiple social crises at the risk of war itself, the drums of war sounding over Ukraine may seem disconnected from the issues of social justice. They may sound too faint or are far away to merit much attention. They should not be. If a war does break out, its the repercussions will soon ripple and be felt in every village and town in South Africa and the world. Even if people don't understand that issue that's at stake in the war, and most of us do not. People carry placards as they take part in manifestation in defense of the Ukraine, Europe, and democratic values, organized by the Association of Ukrainians in Portugal in front of the consulate of the Russian Federation in Porto, Portugal, 20th February 2022. As the mainstream media news degenerates into the journalist John Pilger calls raw propaganda, active citizens have a right to accurate information and analysis. We should not take what we read and view on global media channels at face value. We have been fooled about real reasons for war before. Remember the non-existent weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Testifying at the Human Rights Commission hearing on the July 2021 riots, former State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo described a fit-for-purpose state security agency. She said anyone who had expected her to share intelligence reports was dreaming in the color. Like those in authority who have testified before her at the Human Rights Commission, the probe into the 2021 civil unrest, former State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo on a Tuesday even appeared to casually wash her hands of any intelligence failures in the lead up to the 8 days of the riots and looting that gutted the KZN economy and to a lesser extent the Gauteng economy and left well over 300 people dead. During testimony that lasted for about 4 hours, Dlodlo painted a picture of a fit-for-purpose state security agency manned by diligent and efficient staff who work tirelessly to provide high-value intelligence to clients. What those clients did with the information, she said, was not her business or that of her agency. She also brushed away criticism from Police Minister Bheki on Monday and by KZN Premier Sihle Zikalala last year during the hearings that there were no early warnings intelligence reports from the SSA leading up to the violence. The agency's daily intelligence briefs were not scheduled, she said, but are produced on a continual basis throughout the production cycle based on the identified intelligence threats. This happens throughout the year and goes to the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structures, the Minister of Intelligence, Deputy Minister of Intelligence, and are shared with the President from time to time. With poorly disguised condensation, she said the agency had indeed forewarned the police, ministers, and net joints of impending civil unrest in the Gauteng and KZN from as early as December 2020. Early in her testimony, she stated, if my colleagues did not get updates from their own departments, I can hardly be held accountable for that and responsible for that. Without going into detail, Dlodlo said that between May 2021 and the start of the riots, the agency had issued some red alerts, some yellow, and some orange. All of these go to the structures I have mentioned here and enable them to plan. So I was still there, did warn about the growing instability and undermined the authority of the state. In the words of her intelligence. 10 alleged robbers were arrested and 8 others killed in bloody exchanges of fire with the law enforcement that played out south of Johannesburg on Monday. Investigations are underway into the dramatic shootout between police and alleged robbers in Rosettenville. This happening on Monday and has left at least 9 people dead and several others injured. Police acting on intelligence zoned in on a house in the area that was allegedly being used by robbers as a safe house from which they were planning a cash-in-transit heist. Gunfire erupted from the house, targeting the SAPS helicopter circling overhead. Officers on board returned fire before retreating and flying to Mill Park Hospital because the flight engineer had been wounded. Law enforcement stand beside the JMPD van, and it was loaded with suspects in Johannesburg on the 21st of February now, 2022. Underground multidisciplinary teams led by crime intelligence moved in on the property, and the shooting escalated. A leaked report of the incident described the incident as a war zone. Spent bullet casings highlighted in pink, as is seen as members of the forensics teams walk past the bullet-riddled BMW in the background. And it's riddled, Nyanaga, if you can see the windscreen there. Anyway, 3 of the alleged robbers were killed by police as they attempted to flee the house in a BMW. All others were trying to escape while over the wall on the neighboring properties. Others were arrested as they attempted to hijack another vehicle in the area, but not before they wounded 2 police officers and 1 JMPD officer. The gang, according to the National Police Minister Bheki Cele, comprised about 25 members made up of South African, Zimbabwean nationals, and at least 1 man from Botswana. Cele described the gang as a heartless people who are prepared to kill. It is believed that among those arrested on Monday is an ex-soldier and 2 police officers, 1 from the flying squad and 1 from the National Intervention Unit. "29 minutes now before 10 o'clock, and further afield in our beautiful but troubled continent of Africa, the Zimbabwean government has welcomed the decision of the European Union to lift a travel ban and financial sanctions imposed on Vice President Constantino Chiwenga, former First Lady Grace Mugabe, and Military Chief Valerio Sibanda. The EU took the decision despite acknowledging that Zimbabwean human rights had not improved and that the potential of getting worse. The sanctions were imposed on them 20 years ago, but were suspended 2 years ago. They have now been completely removed. However, sanctions against Zimbabwe's defense industry remain in place. Zimbabwean government spokesperson Nick Mangwangwa says the decision in a positive indication on the positive relationships with the EU. The government would continue pushing for all sanctions to be removed unconditionally. President Emerson Mnangagwa has been trying to improve relations with the Western nations since ousting long-serving ruler Robert Mugabe in 2017. Mrs. Mugabe was famous for the shopping trips to Europe and is often referred to as the first shopper. President Mugabe was part of some 20 others who were covered by the first wave of the EU sanctions agreed in February 2022. On that note, we come to the end of our current affairs, or the moments therein. More to come as the program continues. Do stick around.